In this video, we're going to go through the quiz that was at the end of the section 9.4 lesson over composition and transformations. Our focus for these three examples is going to be to use the rules to get us to where we need to go. But you can also kind of sketch out the graph or use whatever tools or learning pieces that you've been doing for the last few sections as well. Okay. So our first question said point A12 is rotated 100 degrees counterclockwise about the origin and then translated 3 units right and 5 units up. What are the coordinates of the image A prime prime? So what I like to do here is I like to just start with the rules, okay? We're always starting off with XY, but then we're rotating this 180 degrees. So if we're rotating 180 degrees, XY would go to negative X, negative Y, okay? So the next thing that happened was then we translated 3 units right and 5 units up, okay? So here, we're gonna take our negative X, but we're gonna add 3 units to that because from there we added 3 units, okay? We went right. And then to our negative Y, we're gonna add 5. So this is the rule that will give us our new image, okay? So we started off at 1, 2, okay? We can even follow what we've done with the rotation. This would become negative 1, negative 2, and then from there, we're going to add 3 to X. Negative 1 plus 3 is a positive 2. Negative 2 plus 5 is a positive 3. So our answer for A double prime is the coordinates 2, 3. For our second question, point B at negative 3, 6 is reflected across the x-axis and then translated 3 units left and 1 unit up. Again, we're asking what are the coordinates of B prime prime? So we're going to do the same thing. We're starting off at XY. We have the reflection across the x-axis, which means the x coordinate stays the same, but the y coordinate changes signs. And then we're translating 3 units left. So we're going to take this value of x and we're going to subtract 3 from it. But 1 unit up means this negative y is going to have 1 added to it. So just like before, we're at negative 3, 6. And you can follow this chain of command, okay? The other thing that you can do is since you already have the rule at the end, you can just jump straight to there, okay? And I'll show this both ways here. First, let's follow the chain of command, okay? With our reflection, X stays the same, so we're still at negative 3, but the 6 becomes a negative 6. And then from there, negative 3 minus 3 is going to end up being negative 6. But negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. Okay? So that's following the chain of command. Okay? If you recognize that you have the rule, though, you can jump straight to that. And you can say, you know what, I have negative 3, 6, and I need to, in the end, take 3 away from X. Negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. And in the end, I need to make Y negative. So negative 6 plus 1 to give me negative 5. So if you map out that rule, you can really jump straight to the answer if you want to. Okay. The first 2 examples were going forward and finding the image. The last example is the tough one because now we're going to go backwards, okay? We're going to go backwards. We're starting with the image and trying to go back and find the pre-image. Okay? So C was translated 4 units down and then rotated about the origin 90 degrees counterclockwise. The image of C is 4, negative 1. So C double primes at 4, negative 1. We want to know where we started. We're going to follow the same process here. Let's just map out what happened. We started off at XY. we were translated 4 units down, so x didn't change. X stayed the same, we just ended up with y minus 4. And then from here, we had 90 degrees counterclockwise rotation. What happens with that rotation is x and y flip spots, but your y value becomes negative. So we're going to end up with negative y minus 4, whatever that was, but then x is now your y coordinate, okay? So that's where we ended up, okay? If you want to distribute that negative, you can. That would be negative y plus 4, okay? But we're having to work backwards now. So we ended up at 4, negative 1. We have to do this backwards. So think about what happened last. We had the rotation 90 degrees counterclockwise, okay? This is what happened was x and y flipped spots. So we need to flip spots again and have the 4 be the y coordinate and the negative 1 be the x coordinate. But the other thing that happened was that our y came in was negative. So our 4 that swooped in had to have been negative to begin with to end up with a positive 4. Okay? Our 4 had to have been negative to begin with to end up with a positive 4 at the end. Okay? From there, we had the translation 4 units down. So we had to subtract 4 to get to negative 4. We had to subtract 4 to get to negative 4. So we had to have started at negative 1, 0. Now, when you're going backwards, like we are in this problem, probably the most important thing to do at the end is just double check your answer, make sure everything makes sense. So if we start at negative 1, 0, okay? If we started at negative 1, 0, and we just translated this down 4, we would end up with negative 1, negative 4. And then our rotation of 90 degrees counterclockwise is going to switch x and y, but your y values change signs to make that a positive 4, negative 1. And that's exactly where we were supposed to end up. Okay. If you have any questions, please reach out to your teacher. We're here to help.